Silence can be empowering or disempowering. And there is a huge difference between choosing silence and being silenced. Hello, and welcome to this episode of The Unburdened Woman. If you're new here, I'm Niamh. I'm a woman's confidence coach, and I help women through a combination of Reiki, journaling, meditation, and coaching to see their true selves, to find the skills they have lost, to find the woman that they have silenced, and to bring her to the fore in their lives. To use the voices they were told were too loud or too much or too sensitive, too emotional. To allow the woman who has been silenced and silenced herself speak, to find their voice and use their voice. And that's what I am going to be talking about with you today, is silence. The power it holds to both empower you and to disempower you, and the difference between silence and being silenced. Silence is something very, very dear to my heart. As a Reiki practitioner, as someone who meditates regularly and leads guided meditations and helps women to find that inner quiet and inner calm, silence is hugely important to me and a massive part of my life. That ability to be able to quieten down, to calm your mind, to sit in silence, to hear your breath, to hear your thoughts clearly, to hear your heartbeat, to recognize who you are in all the turmoil going on around you, because that is part of who we have lost. We get so caught up, and I know I've done this too, get so caught up in busyness and being busy, that busy becomes our identity. Stress becomes our identity. Anxiety becomes our identity. And we don't see who we truly are. We don't see the powerful woman behind the to-do list, the powerful woman behind the stress, the anxiety. And when we can create silence for ourselves, when we can come into those moments of calm and really see ourselves and see what we have overcome to reach this point in our lives, we will see how phenomenal we are. And then we can start to listen to ourselves, to who we want to be and who we want to share ourselves as with the world, and to use our own voice. And silence is powerful. Silence allows you to see yourself, to hear yourself. It allows you to listen inwards and outwards. Silence allows you to listen to others, to really, truly, deeply listen to others, so that you are not always reacting, judging, criticizing, but you're coming from a place of power, of truly seeing and truly hearing them. But it's only when you learn to truly hear and truly see yourself that you can arrive at that place of listening with others. And silence, that going quiet, the calming of the mind, can feel so scary when you have spent your entire life being busy, creating physical or mental to-do lists, ticking things off. Do this now, next this, next that, looking at all the things that you still have to do that stretch out miles into the future, and you think you're never going to get them done. Sitting in silence can feel so hard when you're so used to that busyness. And so I'm going to ask you now to just pause with me, and you can feel that I've been quite hyped up because this matters to me, and I felt it, I've been there. So for a moment, we're just going to pause. We're just going to sit or stand wherever you are, and we're just going to pause in silence and listen to our breath. And for some of you, that pause might have felt really weird and really strange, and you're wondering what's coming next, and there's thoughts popping into your brain, and you're wondering what you're doing here. And I get it. That silence is scary, but the more you do it, and it doesn't have to be long. Nobody says you have to sit in meditation for an hour a day. You can do 30 seconds. You can stop for 2 or 3 breaths. Put a hand on your heart, a hand on your abdomen, and just take 3 or 4 breaths to center yourself, to come back to yourself. That's all it takes in the beginning. And once you get used to that, you'll find that you actually want to stay there longer. Because in that silence, you really begin to see yourself, to hear yourself. You allow the true you to come out. And when that happens, it's much harder for you to be silenced by yourself and by others. So let's talk about being silenced. Many of us have done it to ourselves. And hey, yeah, I hold my hands up to this one. I'm guilty of this too. The number of times I've wanted to say something and held back because I thought, who am I to say that? Nobody's going to listen to me. I'm nobody. Why should they listen to what I have to say? And if you're nodding along, believe me, what you have to say is important, especially if you're a woman in midlife. Actually, it doesn't matter what age you are, but if you're in midlife anyway, you have wisdom and you have experiences to share. But we all do, no matter what age we are. We have experiences that can always help others. So when we get that little inner nudge to share something, and then we silence ourselves, that tells us that we're not worthy. And that feeds into that loop of not feeling worthy. So the more you silence yourself, the harder it actually becomes to speak up. So we have being silenced by ourselves, and we also have being silenced by others. And this is where we learned to silence ourselves. Because from childhood you were probably told children are seen and not heard. You were told to be quiet. You were told you weren't entitled to an opinion, or you were too loud, or nobody wants to hear little girls screaming. You just be quiet, be a good girl. And then maybe, at school, you learned to sit quietly and listen to the teacher. You weren't allowed to share your thoughts or your opinions because nothing mattered apart from the teachers. And then maybe you had a job or a relationship where again you were silenced. You were fit into a box or a role. And you didn't feel comfortable or confident sharing your thoughts, your opinions, your experiences. And so you were silenced. And throughout our lives, women have been silenced. We are still being silenced. We are silenced by our peers, our colleagues, our partners, the government, church, religions. Everywhere you go, women are being silenced. But it doesn't have to be like this. We don't have to stand on a pulpit or on a rooftop and declare ourselves. But we do need to declare ourselves. We do need to break that silence. And it starts with you getting silent, listening to your own inner wisdom, to your own voice, learning your own strengths and talents, looking at where your experiences can help others, and then sharing that quietly. You can share it. You don't have to jump on a podcast like me. You can share it with one or two friends. You can share it with the young woman at work who is going through a difficult time in her life. And you can share some kind words with her that might just help her. But to break away from the feeling of being silenced, we do need to get silent. We need to listen inwards. As women, we need to see our own true power and wisdom. And we need to be using our voices. So I'm going to ask you, if there was one thing you wanted to say today, one thing the world needs to know that you know, what would it be? And I'm not asking you to go out there and broadcast it. I'm not asking you to write a Facebook post or a Substack entry or do a podcast about it. I'm asking, do you know what the message you have for the world is? Because that comes down to your essence, to who you are, who you know yourself to be, who you believe yourself to be, and whether you believe yourself worthy enough to share your message. And maybe you didn't have an answer to that question, and that's okay. For many years, I didn't have an answer to that question. For many years, I didn't even know what I liked, let alone answer the question, what message would I have to bring to the world? It took me years to get to where I am. Months of crying on my yoga mat. Years of trying to meditate and getting frustrated because it just wasn't happening. The one thing that really did help me learn to meditate was using Reiki through my meditation practices. We'll get into that on another podcast. But finding that space of silence, that quiet within myself, gave me the ability to see myself through a different lens, to not listen to or believe the thoughts that were going through my mind that told me I was too much, too sensitive, too emotional, too loud, too quiet, too anything. Finding the silence, finding the calm in the storm, if you like, allowed me to see that I am enough. To start with, I am enough. And to end up with, I have as much right as anybody else to share who I am and what I am, and to share my story and my words and my knowledge and my experience. And so here I am doing that as the unburdened woman. And that doesn't mean I've shaken off all the burdens. It doesn't mean I'm finally free. It doesn't mean that sometimes I don't crawl back into my burrow and think, oh my God, what did I just say? That's normal. What it means is that I'm growing, I'm changing, and I'm using the power of silence to help me, because when my mind starts to chatter and I start to feel those feelings of anxiety arise, I know I have a powerful, calm, silent center that I can come back to, that allows those thoughts, those anxious feelings to dissipate. And when I come back to that silence, I see me. I see who I truly am. And it's from that voice that I can speak and I can share with the world. It's from that center of calmness, from that silence, if you like, that I can speak. So, my aim is to help you, not just to find your silence, but to find your voice, to help you speak, to help you make the ripples in the world you're here to make, whether they're small ripples or huge ripples. I would love to hear what resonated with you from this, what you would like me to speak about in future, and what ripples you're going to make in the world today. Thank you. I'll see you on the next one.